Husband of many wives.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry. That was supposed to be.
You see, he has given me a nickname.
Thank you for staying with us. More than 48 hours after they took their oath of office and made appearances at their various ministries to kickstart their jobs that could last for the next 4 years, they have a huge burden on their shoulders. It is to meet up with the president's objectives and expectations from Nigerians. For some of the ministers who spoke, minimizing the sufferings of Nigerians is top on the agenda for them. Joining us in the studio to discuss this is public affairs analyst and UK-based immigration lawyer Olufemi Aino. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you.
As well as fellow Nigerian Institute of Management Razak Ulukoba. Good morning.
Thank you, Veronica.
And via Zoom from Abuja is public affairs commentator Mayokun Ilu. Good morning, Mayokun. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Veronica. Good morning to the house.
Good morning.
Happy to be here.
All right. Let me begin with you, Mayokun. On the day that the ministers were swearing their oath of allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the president made some statements talking about how it is that the ministers are not ministers of a particular state or region, but for the country, and how it is important for them to restore faith in governance, as well as also ensure that they are transparent in their dealings. How critical was it for him to make these statements, looking at the fact that leading up to the election, during the election and afterwards, we saw ethnic profiling as well as religious profiling? How critical was it for him to make this statement?
Well, thank you, Vero. I think it was instructive, though given the antecedents, many of them needn't be reminded. But it was good that the president mentioned it. Many of them were governors, many of them were senators, many were coming from one area of concentration or the other that was not likely federal. So now that it has been said to them, if you are a governor in a particular state, 80–90% of your functions were largely concerned with citizens of your state. Now that you are thinking at the federal level as a federal minister, your speech, your words, your thinking, even your approach to issues should now be a bit political, a bit more sentimental towards federal issues, more accommodating of other people's opinions. So I think it was good that the president said it. I'm sure they have taken it. Somebody like Nyesom Wike, for instance, is coming from Rivers State. Now he's the minister of FCT. So everybody now is his constituency. There are things he has done before that will serve him well, because everybody seems to now believe that, okay, sanity is coming back to the streets of Abuja. I drove here yesterday on my way to the office. Ordinarily, I will meet like 3–4 traffic lights, before getting to the office. Yesterday, I saw like 10. I was like, am I in London or am I still in Nigeria? So apparently these things were meant to work, but for one reason or the other, they've not been functioning over the past few months and years. But now that the new sheriff is in town, let's hope the good days will return and return for good.
Right, and that's what a lot of persons have been talking about. I hope it is not an initial move to the statements made by the Minister of the FCT. But let's come back to the studio here now, and let me come to you, Femi. The matter also of accountability. In this part of the world, a lot of persons have said that we do not have that system where we hold people to account. But now that the president is talking about accountability, how crucial is it?
Yes, it is very crucial. Don't forget, the buck stops with the president as the head of the executive. He is the one. He said something which is very important. He said, maybe we can call it an analogy or so, that it's like a vehicle. All these ministers, let's come together, drive the vehicle together, then Nigerians are passengers. That's a good analogy, provided who is going to hold the steering? That's the question we need to ask. And if the president is going to hold the steering, that's fine. we are all ready to come on board and help the president to achieve his objectives. But if you are not going to be in charge, and the person who is going to drive the vehicle is some wiki or these individuals, bet me and you, I don't know about you, I won't come inside that vehicle to start with if wiki is going to be the driver. And you've seen it. You see, it is about collective responsibility. And that is something which is very essential. That even though you are a minister of the Federal Republic, you may not even, maybe you will have a different opinion about what is going on. But that collective responsibility, you just have to toe the party line, if that is the decision of the president. And what happened on Monday? The president said, look, let us work as a team, work together. There should be this and that. But what the president failed to do is to warn these ministers is that we don't want unnecessary controversies. Because at present, Nigerians are going through a lot based on subsidy removal, based on the foreign exchange merger and what have you. Their prices of goods and services are skyrocketing. So because of that, we don't want any unnecessary controversy. We want to govern. And again, whatever is the policy, if you're a minister of the Federal Republic, what is your role? You are there to advise the president, at the same time to formulate policy. And what is this policy? A policy is a statement of action. Any policy that you want to come up with has to be well thought out. Otherwise, if you are not careful, there will be an inconsistency in your policy, and then at the end of the day, you become ridicule. And the only thing is that the president wants to get a message across to Nigerian people that this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going to do. Look at what happened on Monday. It's very unfortunate. Few hours after being sworn in, Nyesom Wike said, look, I'm ready to step on toes. I'm going to demolish this. You see, government must have a strategy. And that strategy is that front page of every newspaper, bad news is what sells newspaper. Good news doesn't sell newspaper. The moment the president advised the minister designate that, okay, this is the way to go. This is what you should do. On Tuesday, we expected that to be on the front page of most of the major newspaper. But the moment Wike said, we are going to demolish houses in Abuja,
it took what the president said.
It took over what the president said. If you look at the front page of Punch yesterday, it was really funny. Because it's in the public domain already. Look, federal government may revoke land allocation, demolish 6,000 building slums. Where did this come from? From Wike. And now, the message from the president, Tinubu, one minister against, you can see that didn't even form the headline. So, you see, we must have ministers, must not overshadow. I'm not saying they can't come up with policy, but those policy needs to be thought out within a few hours. You have not even sat down with the civil servants, find out you've never read the.
You may have done that behind the scenes.
It may well be, but having said that, at the same time, what do we want to get across? You said you are Mr. Project. And then at the end of the day, the first thing, once you assume office, is that I'm going to start demolition houses.
Was that wrong of him?
There is nothing wrong with that, okay? I'm not saying there is anything wrong. But at the same time, government must have a strategy whereby once you've been appointed, you don't rush to take a decision.
Olufemi Aino had spoken on the statement made by former Governor Nyesom Wike, who is the Minister of the FCT. And I was asking our other guest, Razak Olukoba, what you make of some of the bold statements that is coming out from some of these ministers. For instance, the Minister for Defense talking about addressing all forms of insecurity within 1 year. And then the statement made by Governor Nyesom Wike, former Governor Nyesom Wike, Minister of the FCT, and also the Minister of Works, looking at the state of the roads and also making some statements.
Well, thank you. We have handed over all the equipment that will make the president do his work. And that's the final stage, the swearing of the minister. He will have read a lot of reports when the president came in. And for him to begin to implement the recommendations of various agencies and ministries, he will need these ministers around him. And that's why you see all of them making those strong statements. There's no sector in the country that is not in a state of emergency. Economy, health, security, even FCT. I share my colleagues' sentiment, but by looking at what Abuja has become today, you should make a stronger statement.
Really?
Yes, because the satellite towns that are supposed to be servicing Abuja were not there. They have been shared among themselves, among the political class. And you see drivers who close 5, 6 o'clock and will travel 7 miles. Those villages were not built or developed by government, but they were lands that were apportioned to service. When you have New York, you have New Jersey. When you have Lagos, you have somewhere. When you have London, you have someone around London too. That's what Abuja was supposed to be too. But it was taken over. People have strong character, you can't change them. That's a wicked style. It's left to you to interpret what he's saying. And that's exactly what he's saying. What he said is exactly what he's saying, that the master plan is going to work according to it. And we need all sorts of people in government. People who will not talk and will walk. Fashola will not talk, but he will walk. Wike will talk, and he will also walk.
Yeah.
That's his style. But the focus will be what are they bringing to the table, all of them together, put together, and the president. And if you look at the survey done by labor productivity in Nigeria, the last time they had an accurate figure was 2008. The production rate, labor production rate is declining every year. And it gives me a concern when the army says they are giving 1 year to end insecurity, when the Minister for FCT is talking about bringing end to land grabbers in Abuja, when Minister of Works, health sector, the people who are responsible for carrying out the activities, what have you done about them? And that should be the first line of activity that the president should look into. The flight in terms of intellectual, in terms of the labor force of Nigeria. That is the brain drain that is going on. So maybe that's what is responsible. So the direction you must first look at is, why are the people who are supposed to move the country not working? Why is there no urge to service the nation? We must look at what is responsible for it. Is it patriotism? Is it what the country is trying to offer that is not there again? And that is what I think the president should begin to look in the direction. Me, I am always advising against picking one sector of our life and say that they are going to declare emergency on it. The way the president has picked the economy and security, they should give equal attention to everything, because everything will depend on each other. When you don't have a labor that is willing to work, economy will not grow. So every sector of our life at this moment needs urgent attention. And that is why all of them seem to be making a very, very strong statement. So for me, half of government work is actually talking, pronouncing policy statement and enforcing it. So at the stage we are now, their position, their assertive position will go to the president is that no more rhetorics.
The first Federal Executive Council meeting will be held today. So much has been said in the studio with regards what is expected of this person's key performance indicators as well as key performance actions put forward before the president. I wonder what you expect from the conversations they will be having today.
I think the first thing that should be noted is a lot has been said about the qualifications and otherwise of the different ministers. That is in the bag now. Many of them are qualified. I would dare to say most of them, at least for what is expected constitutionally, they are overqualified. They have their antecedents. Many of them have worked in public offices before, many as commissioners, many as, I think Ali Pate is coming all the way from Harvard. So these are people with a pedigree coming to serve their fatherland. Now that they are here, there is a need for them to work in synergy, one with another. There is no ministry that is in a silo all by itself. For you to succeed, you need your co-travelers fellow ministers. You need the stakeholders, and that kind of thinking is about the only thing that will make any minister or minister of state succeed in this dispensation. I want to believe that 80–90% of them have known one another over the years, but now that they are working under a new government, they need to reestablish contacts. They need to compare notes. They need to fashion policies together. When you are in the public sector, there's a way they do ad hoc committees. There's a way they look at interdisciplinary maybe things that they do together. So at the end of the day, you should have somebody from, like Wike is talking about Abuja Master Plan. They should have input from the Ministry of Justice, to sit on their deliberations, to give them input, to give them perspectives. Nobody should go the way alone, so that you are not blindsided by the desire to perform. You should be err on the side of action and also err on the side of caution, depending on what the circumstances dictate. So now that they are going to be sitting together, maybe every week, for as far as I'm concerned, even the need for the Federal Executive Council to be in-person meetings may have been exaggerated over time. They can use tools of technology to meet now. It's not compulsory. If you need to see the president 2 times in a week or 3, fine, you can go in and see that if he has the time to accommodate your needs. But if there's really nothing to report, you don't have to be meeting at every week. You can meet at your individual levels. So among other things, I've looked at what is expected. The key for leadership is for them to be proactive, is for them to be courageous, is for them to be prudent, is for them to know how to tap into talent, how to work the civil servants and use them to achieve whatever it is that has been set. Earlier in the day, I was looking at the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. If only we use this on its own, in addition with our constitution as the Bible for those ministers, you'll be surprised what can be achieved in 4 years. Is it about the hunger? Is it about the poverty? Is it about water? Is it about maybe energy? Is it about other things that make life meaningful? We can't be going into foreign countries, into Western nations as it were, and seeing levels of development and see how governments are committed into issues of governance, and we come here and it's about maybe 2–3 people in public office buying a wine that runs into millions of naira to celebrate one thing or the other. The optics is not okay. So I want to see them working together, working in a synergy. They have what it takes actually between them. And even somebody that has been asked to handle the Ministry of Education, for instance, somebody can say, okay, he's a lawyer, why are you giving him education? Everybody was educated at one point or the other. Mm-hmm. So it's about that leadership coming into that stream and offering direction, ask policy, look into the past. Essentially, when the government comes into power, it's about responding to external needs, these that come up in the course of you delivering your duty. The other part is to look into your policy statements. The president has said, okay, I'm coming into office, don't pity me, I know what I'm coming for, I've read through the materials and stuff like that. So he has an idea what he's coming to do. But things will happen that he was not in the least prepared for. One of them is the issue of foreign reserves. You are thinking coming into office that maybe Nigeria has $34 billion in external reserves, only for you 1 year on the seat, maybe 1 month on the seat, and they're telling you we have barely $5 billion in external reserves. It's something that calls for immediate response.
Covers that question. Let me bring it to you now.
Well, that's very important. And Mr. Razak said something which is very important, that look, at this time, the issue in Niger, since they removed subsidy, I think they've managed to save about 2 trillion, according to the president. The question remains that money, if we are going to go to war in Niger now, where is the Minister for Finance going to get the money from? And this 2 trillion, which they've managed to save through fuel subsidy removal, is it not the case that some years ago in this country there was an award called Udoji Award, whereby teachers, civil servants, all of them were paid? That money managed to flow into the marketplace because people were spending. You see your teachers in those days buying machine, because this is the benefit from the oil. And now are we going to use that money? I'm not saying so. Diplomacy is what we should embrace, and I agree with that. Yeah. But your question of that yes.
Working with the civil service.
Working with that is very important because you see these civil servants, they have their own ways. Some of them have this bureaucratic way of doing things, and now some of them are even old school that they cannot even embrace modern day technology. And then, so these are the things you need to look at. And if you are going to be a minister, in order to work with them, you better listen more and you consult more and you carry them along. Because if you are not careful, they are going to frustrate whatever you are going to do. And if care is not taken, disaster will be all over the place. So if you are the minister, you need to listen more and you need to use what is called the carrot and stick leadership approach. It is very important they do that. Otherwise, you know, we may have issues.
Okay, Mayakun is back. Let me throw the question back to him now. Mayakun, earlier you mentioned the matter of how to work with the civil service. We know how critical they are to the success of any minister's delivery on their portfolios as it is. Now, how would you expect, you know, ministers to work with these persons talking about the civil service? You know, from the statements the former governor Nyesom Wike made on yesterday, there are those who have been saying that he is setting the ground for these people not to work or not to cooperate with him. And I am wondering how you expect these ministers to really ensure that they get the buy-in of these civil servants to their vision, and so they can deliver on the dividends of democracy to Nigerians.
Thank you, Vero. I think what needs to be done is for the various ministers to employ emotional intelligence when dealing with the civil servants. Civil service is like the neck of every administration. You can't work without them. And they know where the bodies are buried, so to say. They know where the banana peels are. So you have to be extremely careful dealing with them. They have their interests. They have their leanings. You need to just understand it and know how to navigate the ministries with them. They can be great allies if you bring yourself as somebody who is seeking knowledge, as somebody who is not trying to impose a new order. If you read the 48 Laws of Power, it says preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. So if Wike is talking tough now, he will have a good reception. Why? Because there was an El-Rufai before him. You know, when El-Rufai was in that ministry, he was very tough. He was all around talking about master plan. People were angry. But many years down the line, people have now seen that, okay, El-Rufai was a good person. You know, I'm not talking about personal characteristics now. I'm talking about his ability to deliver on the mandate that was given to him. And people see another El-Rufai in the making. And for those who have lived in Abuja and have seen how Abuja has gone to the gutters over the years and how things are not actually as they should be, they kind of appreciate Wike. You know, they feel that, okay, now things need to work. And somebody who can make it work is here. Forget the fact that he talks 19 to a dozen. It's just in his nature. But more importantly, he's somebody that walks the talk. So you need synergy with other ministries. I can look at 1, 2, 3 ministries, you know, across like health, for instance. You need to work with the humanitarian affairs. You need to work with those in charge of labor and employment. You have to talk with those people who are looking at even security on his own for workers. So that is your ministry. The blue and marine too have to look at what is happening in the world out there, how people are changing their direction, how moving to green economies and the rest of it. So work with others, work with the civil service, ask them where things are going, and you'll be okay.
All right, Razak, your final word in 30 seconds.
Well, I wish Mr. President and all the ministers well. I want to say that the Nigerians have high expectations of them. All the knowledge they have acquired, for them to become the minister, and the experiences must come to play.
Absolutely.
The light at the end of the tunnel, I know it's not an optical illusion, it's hope. We have hope in them.
All right. We must thank you, gentlemen. Razak Ulukoba, Fellow Nigerian Institute of Management, Olufemi Aino, Public Affairs Analyst and UK-based immigration lawyer, as well as Public Affairs Commentator Moreor for your time on the program. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for you on the program for today.